like couples throughout history, the world over, in civilizations both ancient and modern, you have both chosen to declare your commitments to each other in a public ceremony. You have both chosen to freely commit to. My name is Zena, and I am a humanist celebrant accredited through the British Humanist Association, but I am also Mark's cousin, Mark and Mel's friend. And I have had the absolute pleasure over so many months to work with you both to create this, their wedding ceremony. They both wanted a ceremony that was inclusive for all and which represented the importance of their commitment to each other, but also the happiness with which they want to enter married life. A humanist ceremony is a non-religious ceremony, and it's led by the values of friendship, warmth, and honesty between people. And it proved a natural choice for you both, because they wanted to declare these commitments, witnessed by their family and friends, in a thoughtful and personal way. It was also very important to you both that we created a personal ceremony which celebrated the most important people in your lives. You both know how you have been supported by a framework of people who've enriched your lives both individually and together as a couple. And they wanted this day to celebrate their love and gratitude not just with each other, but with every single one of you gathered here. In a public ceremony like this, it is important that those who are present hold us accountable, that we make declarations which are going to be honoured under the supportive gaze of those that we care about, and to have everyone assembled in one place on a little island in Greece is a rare and cherished thing. Mel and Mark both know that they are very lucky to find themselves surrounded by such warmth, quite literally, and good intention. But Mark and Mel also know that they're surrounded by the love of those who can't make it. We have Mel's nan and granddad and her gran, Mark's gran Ruby, all of whom are sadly no longer with us. Mark's Uncle Jim, who wasn't able to travel. And then, of course, we mustn't forget Ravi and Roo, but to be honest, it's way too hot for them here, so they would have just been much happier at home. Marriage is a special occasion. It's an important ritual throughout humankind, and it's celebrated in similar but different ways throughout the cultures of the world. It's used as a way of often articulating profound emotions. The following words, although written by Bertrand Russell and spoken by me, could so very easily be spoken by you both. He wrote, "Today I marry my friend, the one I have laughed and cried with, the one I have learned from and shared with, the one I have chosen to support, encourage, and give myself to through all the days given us to share. Today I marry the one I love." Now I would like to invite the first of our readers up, which is going to be Lou. And I think you two can both come and stand in the shade here and order for that. There you go. Lou, would you like to come up? I have it for you, do not fret. And the readings that have been chosen today are fairly much a surprise for Mark and Mel, so they're going to hear them at the same time as all of us. So,
hello. Okay, so I wanted to share with you today a story, and it's a story from Greece, from Athens, and it's a story from many, many years ago, but that fits these two perfectly. So you have to imagine Athens, capital of Greece. I want you to imagine 2,500 years ago, if you can, there was a chap called Plato, and he kind of wrote down an imagined dinner party amongst a group of friends called Plato's Symposium. And at this dinner party, he had 12 kind of very learned guests sitting around eating and drinking, and then each guest was challenged to give a speech in praise of the theme of love, of course. So this is a time that was a real foundation of Western philosophy, of things that we think, just generally a bunch of clever people, and they all say their little bits, and the person whose story or speech I'm going to share with you is Aristophanes. Now Aristophanes was the comic poet, so a great figure of fun, like a couple of other people we know, obviously. And also a great storyteller, like somebody else that we all know and love as well. So I thought this was perfect. It's a really delightful myth. It's got a beautiful core to it, and it's full of mischief, just like my dear friends, Mel and Mark. So, said Aristophanes, long, long ago, there were actually 3 kinds of human being. Each of these human beings were made up of 2 kind of joined together. So you had either 2 males, 2 females, or a mixture, a male and a female. And these kind of formed to make one being. And that's how we inhabited the earth. So we were made of 2. When we wanted to travel quickly, we could curve our backs and roll around the earth together, like really, really quickly. We were very, very mischievous. In fact, we were like gymnasts. We were full of strength and power. And the gods, of course, didn't like that very much. They didn't like these naughty little humans speeding around the earth and getting up to mischief. We got a bit cheeky, really. We got so cheeky, they even tried to attack the gods. And Zeus said, no, I've had enough. I've got to do something about those pesky humans. So he decided he was going to cut them in 2. He threw down thunderbolts, and he cast these 2 halves of each human being apart. He separated them. And they tried to cling to each other. They were devastated. And Aristophanes said that in this way, love is born into every human. We're always 2 halves of an original whole. The 2 halves of which are always trying to call each other back together, to try and find one again from that 2, and to heal the wound of human nature. And I really love the idea of healing. If we think about that, this couple are made for each other, we know that, we all know that. We think about their pathways that they've had to come together. They've been very tangled. So there've been miracles, where are they? Miracles. And there've been injuries. And it's been a pathway of healing. And now, both of your 2 careers are all about healing. You know? So it's a coming together that I think is almost like a theme in your lives. So Aristophanes said, when each person meets their other half, their other original pairing, it's absolutely overwhelming, and they are love-struck. All of their senses are overwhelmed. They're reunited, so it's a sense of something completely beautiful and new, but also a sense of coming home, because it's the person you were always with. And so that's it. It's love as a pursuit of wholeness, as our desire to be complete, and that's what I see in you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Marriage is the sharing of experience. It is a journey on the adventure of life, and as with all life, there are unexpected twists and turns. But together, as you already have, you will find ways to navigate the path. When you encounter difficulties and frustration in your relationship, as we all know, happens in all relationships, remember to focus on what is right between you, on the commitments that you're making to each other here today, and the love that you have for each other. There's a very beautiful quote by a woman called Anita Diamant, and she writes in her book, The Red Tent, the following words. She writes, "The painful things are like knots on a beautiful necklace, necessary for keeping the beads in place. And it's worth remembering phrases such as this on days that are just a little bit more difficult than others. Love found you, and you are both declaring that you will respect, acknowledge, and live within it today and always." Now, although we've substantially started this ceremony, it did dawn on me that there might be a chance that, to be honest, going on about Mark and Mel might confuse you, because, of course, Mark and Mel don't really use their names, Mark and Mel. They use both to each other, but they also have a whole host of other names. So this could just as easily be the ceremony of Mini Mimi and Jesus, which is exactly how Lou responded when I asked her if she wanted to do a reading. She said, "For Mini Me and Jesus, hell yeah." It could just as easily be the wedding of Bristolinus and Stoverboy. Or Moomin and Sparky. Or Ruggers and Rittuff. Or my personal favourite, Superwoman and Turkish. Oh, yeah. Now I know everybody knows how he got his name Turkish, but it's too much of a lovely story not to go into just a little bit. So I asked Lou to just tell me, okay, where did this Turkish come from? I'm going to quote directly what Lou wrote back to me. A friend of Mel's was chatting to another, saying words to the effect of, "Isn't it lovely though, that Mel is so happy, she's glowing and loved up and starry-eyed with this new fella?" To which the other one replies, "Well, she does want to be careful though. He's probably only after a green card visa." "What do you mean?" asks friend number one. Friend number two replies, "Well, he is Turkish, you gotta be careful." Henceforth, Turkish. However, you're very successful. I'm assuming the visa is about to be coming back. But a rose by any other name is still going to smell as sweet. So I've just been basically referring to this ceremony as I wrote it, as the ceremony of babe and babe. I didn't just get all of your friends to tell me all your different nicknames. I also spent time working with both Mark and Mel to get to know them beyond what I already knew. I set them both homework, which I do for all of my couples, and you guys, I'm sorry, were no exception. Within this, I learned lots of really wonderful things. The fact, for example, that Mel, although is marrying Mark, has already got many wives. I asked Mel to tell me how many. She said, "The girls that I've known for years, we call each other wife. There's a fair few of them. We have Chili, Spud, Leroy, Sugar Tits, sorry boys, Flipper, Carrot, Monkey, and me." So you now know just what a harem you are entering into. I learned that Mark has a tendency towards sleepwalking naked. Luckily I learned this in the written form and not through the corridors of our villa. We're all a little bit wary, those of us living there. I also discovered Mark's love of fish fingers, baked beans and salad cream, all at the same time, which is utterly disgusting. And I heard of and have since encouraged the return of the kitchen concerts. These are where Mel would sing lead vocals, in her words, obviously. Alfie would play drums with the cushions dragged in and laid around in a drum kit formation. And Evan would be MC. My favourite detail of the kitchen concerts, though, is that the boys would refuse point blank to start the concert if Mel wasn't wearing her highest, sparkliest heels. But in and amongst learning brilliant little things like this, I also asked them to write something that I call the story of us. Now, this is one of the nicest parts of my job because I ask couples to write about the story of their lives together thus far, but I ask them to write these separately so that I can get the same story but each with a slightly different flavour. I get to hear both of their voices. Now, as if we hadn't had enough nicknames, they both entitled their stories with their own titles. Mark's was called The Story of Lady and the Tramp, and Mel's was entitled Hairy Chops and the Cornish Pixie. Now, I am pretty certain that all of you know how these guys met, but it would be a little remiss of me if I didn't try and talk at least a little bit about how we all got brought to this very place. But just in all relationships, remember to focus on what is right between you, on the commitments that you're making to each other here today, and the love that you have for each other. There's a very beautiful quote by a woman called Anita Diamond, and she writes in her book The Red Tent the following words. She writes, "The painful things are like knots on a beautiful necklace, necessary for keeping the beads in place. And it's worth remembering phrases such as this on days that are just a little bit more difficult than others. Love found you, and you are both declaring that you will respect, acknowledge, and live within it today and always." Now, although we we've substantially started this ceremony, it did dawn on me that there might be a chance that, to be honest, going on about Mark and Mel might confuse you, because of course Mark and Mel don't really use their names, Mark and Mel. They use both to each other, but they also have a whole host of other names. So this could just as easily be the ceremony of Mini Mimi and Jesus, which is exactly how Lou responded when I asked her if she wanted to do a reading. She said, for Mini Me and Jesus, hell yeah. It could just as easily be the wedding of Bristolinus and Stoverboy, or Moomin and Sparky, or Ruggers and Ritter, or my personal favourites, Superwoman and Turkish. Oh, yeah. Now I know everybody knows how he got his name Turkish, but it's too much of a lovely story not to go into just a little bit. So I asked Lou to just tell me, okay, where did this Turkish come from? I'm going to quote directly what Lou wrote back to me. A friend of Mel's was chatting to another, saying words to the effect of, isn't it lovely though, that Mel is so happy, she's glowing and loved up and starry-eyed with this new fella? To which the other one replies, well, she does want to be careful though. He's probably only after a green card visa. What do you mean, asks friend number one. Friend number two replies, well, he is Turkish, you gotta be careful. Henceforth, Turkish. However, you're very successful. I'm assuming the visa is about to be going. But a rose by any other name is still going to smell as sweet. So I've just been basically referring to this ceremony as I wrote it, as the ceremony of babe and babe. I didn't just get all of your friends to tell me all your different nicknames. I also spent time working with both Mark and Mel to get to know them beyond what I already knew. I set them both homework, which I do for all of my couples, and you guys, I'm sorry, were no exception. Within this, I learned lots of really wonderful things.
Σήμερα μαζευτήκαμε για να ενώσουμε αυτόν τον άντρα και αυτή τη γυναίκα με τα ιερά δεσμά του γάμου. Να είμαστε μάρτυρες για τη δέσμευση του ενός με τον άλλον, ευχόμενοι να είναι ενωμένες οι ζωές τους ως μία για πάντα.
Good evening. We are gathered together today to unite Mark and Melanie in the vow of matrimony.
Κύριε Μάρκ, δέχεσαι για νόμιμη σύζυγό σου την κυρία Μέλανη όπως ορίζουν οι νόμοι του ελληνικού κράτους?
Mark, do you accept Melanie as your legal wedded wife?
Κυρία Μέλανη, δέχεσαι για νόμιμο σύζυγό σου τον κύριο Μάρκ όπως ορίζουν οι νόμοι του ελληνικού κράτους?
Melanie, do you accept Mark as your legal wedded husband?
Τα δαχτυλίδια παρακαλώ.
The rings? The rings, please.
Μια θάλαμη μετά.
Έχεις καλό. Θα βγάλεις σήμερα. Mark, place the ring on Melanie's fingers and repeat after me. With this ring, I thee wed as a token of our everlasting love. Melanie, place the ring on Mark's finger and repeat after me. With this ring, I thee wed as a token of our everlasting love. Ouch!
Από τη στιγμή αυτή που ενωθήκατε με την ελεύθερη συνένεσή σας σε γάμο, οφείλετε αμοιβαία ο ένας τον άλλον αγάπη, πίστη και σεβασμό για όλη σας τη ζωή.
From this moment on, you are joined by your own free will in matrimony. You are obliged to love, trust and respect one another for the rest of your lives, no matter what the future holds for you.
Ο γάμος που σας ενώνει σας επιβάλλει την ταύτιση των τυχών σας και την κοινή αντιμετώπιση σε βάση ισότητας όλων των ζητημάτων που θα προκύπτουν από τη συμβίωσή σας σαν συζύγων και γενικότερα όλων των δυσκολιών της ζωής.
The marriage that unites you also imposes upon you to confront your future together on an equal basis on all issues that may arise when you're living together as a married couple and generally for all the problems life may present to you.
Από κοινού θα πρέπει επίσης να συμβάλλετε, ο καθένας ανάλογα με τις δυνάμεις του, στα βάρη που συνεπάγονται η έγαμη συμβίωση και η συντήρηση και η προαγωγή της οικογένειας που θα δημιουργήσετε.
Each of you must help financially to the best of your ability with all expenses that may occur as a family.
Από κοινό είναι τέλος και το καθήκον και το δικαίωμα και των δυο σας να μεριμνάτε για την ανατροφή και τη διαπαιδαγώγηση των παιδιών σας, ώστε να γίνουν χρήσιμοι και χρηστοί πολίτες και ελεύθερες προσωπικότητες.
It is your duty and right for both of you to take care of the raising and education of any children you may have, so that they will become confident, independent and honest citizens.
Από τώρα και στο εξής είστε σύζυγοι να ζήσετε.
You are now joined together as husband and wife. You may now kiss your bride. Congratulations!
Brother dressed in a bright yellow t-shirt, smiling his little hairy head off. My interest was piqued. I've always loved a pretty boy, a clean-cut, fancy Dan. So this mysterious, astute man was not my normal type. Now the absolute joy of having two versions of the same story is I can tell you exactly what Mark thought when he suddenly saw that like pop up on his Facebook page. Mark wrote, I first clapped eyes on Mel when she appeared on my Facebook. Jamie had put a pic-up of me and him just before we went skydiving in Gran Canaria, and Mel commented on it. I had never seen her before, but I wondered who the hell this potty was. I was straight on the phone to Jamie. Now, the virtual world intrigue stepped out of the computer as Mark got Mel's number and gave her a ring. Mark told me we would talk for hours and it would seem like minutes. We got on so well we decided to meet up for a brew. Now Mel said, I remembered Mark sounded really excitable and playful, so I was looking forward to meeting him. They arranged to meet at the Cliff Top Cafe at Whitsands, overlooking the Rainhead and looking out to sea. It was a beautiful and unusually warm March day, or to be more specific, as Mark remembered it, it was 12:30 on a Tuesday. And yet, nerves were still abounding. As Mark admitted the following, his details purpose, neither of them wanted the date to end. And so it progressed to another cup of coffee, this time at King Sands. There wasn't a single moment where they didn't click. As Mel told me, and I quote, we talked our heads off. Eventually we circled around to Millbrook so Mark could see the village that he'd only ever driven through in order to go somewhere else. After he left, I knew that I had met someone very special. And Mark told me, it takes 30 minutes to drive from Mel's to my work in Saltash. I got to work and then within a couple of minutes I received a text. Without looking at it, I was hoping it was from Mel. My stomach was doing somersaults. It was Mel, and from that moment on, we have never stopped texting or talking. Suffice to say, the next section of their story reads a little bit like a teenage love story. It's utterly delightful, as Mel admitted, and I will quote, we spoke and have spoken every day since he first called me. I think we spent most of the days in between meeting, texting or talking or daydreaming about each other. I would reread his texts and replay all of our conversations in my head. I walked around with a massive smile, like I slept with a coat hanger in my mouth. My face ached with happiness. I'm also still massively smiling as I'm writing this to you now. So, a second date was arranged. Another day date, And this time they walked from the village to Kreml across the fields. And as Mark recounted, we walked miles and miles and ended up in the Edgecombe Arms and then walked back. I knew she was someone special. We just clicked. I can remember Mel asking me if I'd ever been in love. I'd never felt such strong feelings for anyone else before, so there was no way I'd ever been in love before. I reckon I loved Mel from that moment. It would be months before I told her though. And here begins one of my favourite little chapters in the story of Mark and Mel, the quest to say, I love you. If I can let Mel's own words give us the context of this. Mel told me that from that second date, I knew I loved him. My biggest struggle from that moment on was just not actually telling him. I knew it was mental. We had literally only spent about 6 hours in each other's company, but the feelings I had for him were so strong that it was overwhelming. Because I couldn't say any of these words out loud to him, I would end every text with X space, XXXX space, XXX, which was a very flimsy code for I love you.
No, you didn't get it.
No, trust me, you're going to hear how he didn't get it. So Mark and Mel continued their journey getting to know each other, but they also had commitments that meant that they wanted to take things very slowly. As Mark told me, and I will directly quote, and you'll hear from the first line I'm clearly directly quoting Mark, I was off my tits with pure happiness. Brackets, I don't know how else to describe such emotion. I knew that Dana would always come first, just as Evan and Alfie would always come first for Mel. And so understandably and rightly so, Mark and Mel spent a number of months continually talking on the phone for hours and texting each other, not just daily, but hourly. And Mel's would always end with X space, X, 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 X space, X, X, X. Now the joy of having two versions of the same story is I can tell you exactly what Mark thought of all of those kisses. Mark wrote, I remember Mel always ending her text with a line of kisses. She was always such a fast texting machine, not a sluggish two-finger jobby like me. So when I saw this line of random X's, I always thought she was just quickly hitting the X button, every now and again slipping to the space button, and then quickly hitting send. Months, and I mean months later, she admitted that this random line of X's was actually a discreet way of saying, I love you. Now, at this exact point in Mel's story, Mel jumped just a few months, and she told me the following things. One evening, things came to a head. We had a heated discussion, as I was frustrated that I had this special thing in my life, but neither of us could fully immerse ourselves within it, because we had others to consider. I remember that Mark got flustered, and he blurted out, I love you. It was amazing, because then I could tell him how I truly felt, and he was able to look back over the texts over many weeks that I had been trying to tell him. And sure enough, Mark confirmed. Looking back on the texts, it became apparent that we fell in love at the same time, but just never mentioned it to each other. Do you have it there? Can I show? Where is it? Mark has X space XXXX2 XXX.
I'm feeling the love now.
So pretty much from that point onwards, Mark and Mel have marched directly to this place that we find ourselves at today. Now I'm not going to chronologically retell the years that followed, but I am going to say that in that time, Mel and Mark have realistically and with delight discovered so many things about each other. They've worked hard how to understand how the other one thinks and reacts, and they have done this in their inimitable Mel and Mark way. They make each other happy, and they have rejuvenated each other's love for life. And I'd like to share an extract from Mark's early days, from when they first started dating, if I may. Mark wrote, what I love about Mel is that we have a similar sense of humour, and we still do our best to make each other happy. We've been on countless family holidays and breaks away, which have been awesome. We have stayed in some of the most lovely hotels for romantic breaks, which Mel loves, and fully made the most of our time together. Yet on the other end of the scale, we can just be happy doing very little together. I remember one summer's evening, I decided that being a teenager again would be great. I suggested that we get a bag of booze, walk through the village swigging our tinnies, playing music out of our phones, having a cheeky fag walking up through the lanes to Jamaica, and then some food in a field. Mel said yes, it's a great idea. Minutes later we were out. We felt 20 or so years younger, tipsy, taking in turns to choose the best song to play to each other, watching the sun go down at the top of Jamaica, and eating a Thai curry cooked from a shed in a field, which was slightly random. The walk home was just as epic. It was dark, we were pissed, still trying to outdo each other song by song, looking down on a lit Millbrook, our home from above. It doesn't get any better than that. And even if Mel didn't really fancy it when I suggested it, she hastily left the house and still got immersed in my thoughts that that would be a good night, because she knew that's what I wanted to do. That's another reason why I love her, because she always puts everyone before herself. She's always trying to make everyone else happy. Mark and Dana moved in with Mel and the boys the following April, just a year after they met. And Mel told me, and if it's okay, I'm going to read this. Mel told me, we were both sure of where our relationship was heading. We had talked about getting married. I loved us all being together, no one flitting off because Monday had rolled round again. We could all eat dinner together and really enjoy being a family. And Mel spoke so highly of you, Dana, that if it's okay, I'm going to read what she said. I first met Dana whilst I was working at the ambulance station in Torpoint. I fell in love with her just as quickly as I fell in love with her dad. I remember she borrowed a hairband and seemed so impressed that I was a paramedic. It does have its uses, yes. She is so lovely and I miss her in very many. We watch Disney films together and our favourite is Maleficent. Angelina Jolie calls the beautiful princess in it Beastie, and so that's what I call Dana. There's a part in it where we both get very weepy. Maleficent says, "You stole what was left of my heart, and not a day will pass when I don't miss your smile." And Mel wrote that if this Mac she was writing on had emojis, it would be doing a lot of crying faces right now. She really feels like my own, and I've always tried to teach her as such. She met the boys when they were only 6 and 4, and she never got angry or visibly annoyed or shouted at them, even though they used to climb all over her, all hours of the day. She was a grumpy teenager, but she always loved them, and they always loved her. Mel continues, I could literally fill pages with all the memories that we have made in the last 5 years. Mark is the best dad, the best stepdad. He spends so much time and effort making everyone happy. I still would do anything to make him smile, and his laugh is one of my favourite sounds. He obviously drives me to distraction at times. His determination to do so much for others means he can spread himself thinly, and this can impact on everyone, so his greatest strength can also be his greatest weakness. But I still love it. Yes, she does. And Mark ended his story with the following lines.
He never stayed quiet, did he?
For years and years I couldn't see past the present day. No happiness apart from being with Dana. And now with Mel, I've found tomorrow. I do truly see her as an angel freshly fallen from the sky. I am miles high, stellified. Stellified is a song that we are all going to listen to in a minute, and it's a song that means a heck of a lot to these two. So when it comes on, let's just have a little listen to it. Mark planned to propose to Mel, he bought a ring and he set a date, and then I quote, Mel beat me to it. Proposing to me up on the cliffs where we met with a Haribo ring the day before I was going to do it. And so I get to say that it is Mark's yes to Mel's question that has us all gathered here today. But why is it that we still choose to marry? If we have found each other, made commitments with each other, moved in together, got all happy family together, why is it that we still want to make this extra step? I think that marriage should be seen as something remarkable. It is something that we dare to dream, and it's a desire to achieve something a little bit more than ourselves, which I can't help but think is really exciting. Admitted the following. This detail's perfect. Mark admitted, I can remember driving to the Cliff Top Cafe and almost turning around and driving back, positively sure that once we had met, Mel would probably not want to meet again. Because you see, we all travel through life with the accumulation of the experiences we have gathered. And Mark and Mel had both been on a fairly precarious journey over the years before they met. But what is so exquisite revealed within both of their stories to me is that from the very get-go, they have both been so very honest with each other about their frailties, about their vulnerabilities. And so early on, they bonded not just only on how well they got on together, but also over the respect that they both have for each other's commitment to their children, Dana, Evan and Alfie, and the support and the compassion for one another within this. But anyway, back to that afternoon on the cliff top. This time they walked from the village to Kreml across the fields. And as Mark recounted, we walked miles and miles and ended up in the Edgecombe Arms and then walked back. I knew she was someone special. We just clicked. I can remember Mel asking me if I had ever been in love. I'd never felt such strong feelings for anyone else before, so there was no way I'd ever been in love before. I reckon I loved Mel from that moment. It would be months before I told her, though. And here begins one of my favourite little chapters in the story of Mark and Mel, the quest to say, I love you. If I can let Mel's own words give us the context of this. Mel told me that from that second date, I knew I loved him. My biggest struggle from that moment on was just not actually telling him. Yours on your wedding day as you promise to love each other today, tomorrow and always. These are the hands that will continue to work alongside yours as together you build your future. And these are the hands that will passionately love you and cherish you through the years and with the slightest touch, comfort you like no other. These are the hands that will countless times wipe tears of joy and tears of sorrow from your eyes. And these are the hands that play with, hug and tease Dana, Evan and Alfie. The hands that will help you to hold your family as one. So Mark and Mel, we ask you now, is it your intention to be joined in marriage at this time? Thank God. Mark, do you take Mel to be your wedded wife, to share your life with her, to love, honour and care for her in respect, tenderness and affection as long as you both shall live? When we commit to each other in marriage, we are acknowledging beyond the good times. We will stick with each other. We will support and we will cherish. And we will continue to do so and be better than perhaps our base instincts until we grow old. There's a really wonderful quote from a fairly unusual source for a wedding ceremony because it's from the children's Finnish books, The Moomins, but I do believe it has an added poignancy. The quote I'm going to read is simply because I think it tells us how easy it is to learn that happiness is very simple. I'm just going to read it to you. A character called Nitti says the following. If you like me, you will pick for me all the twinkling stars in the dark firmament. If you like me a lot, you will promise to fetch me the silvery moon in the sky. But if you love me, you won't make pointless, useless, unnecessary promises. And the promises that you are both making to each other here today are based firmly in that truth. You don't need to promise any nonsense. You just have to stand here with each other's backs in front of everybody else, knowing that you're grounded, and no matter where you travel, you're right back here. Just before we get to your vows, we have another little surprise reading from Caprice. Would you like to come up and read for us?
Yeah, I'd love to follow. Yes. So, did you know there are 6 different words in Greek to define the word and the art of love? We've developed such a sophisticated vocabulary to order a coffee these days. So why shouldn't that language encompass something that is much more important in our lives? The first is eros, the early days. Sorry kids. Sexual passion and desire. They didn't hear. That irrational love that possesses you as you give in and lose control to another. The second is philia. It's the friendship that develops from eros, the loyalty and sacrifice to another or learning to share your emotions. The third is ludus, a playful love. This comes with learning about your partner, knowing where those new boundaries are and the fun this knowledge brings to the banter and the many stories shared. Then the fourth is agape. This is a very important development for Mel and Mark. It's a love for everyone, for family and friends, which is essential given the vast circle of amazing around them. The fifth is pragma. This is a deep understanding that can only come with time, the compromises to enrich your relationship, showing newfound patience and tolerance for each other. The sixth is philotia, self-love. Not to be self-obsessed, but widening your capacity to love and accept yourself, to enable you to be able to love others. So all of these types, you don't need to be present at the same time, but please remember to nurture them all in turn so that they're part of your everyday speaking, thinking and actions. Say agapame. We love you.
Would you like to give your bouquet to someone?
I would.
Yeah. You promise to love each other today, tomorrow and always. These are the hands that will continue to work alongside yours as together you build your future. And these are the hands that will passionately love you and cherish you through the years and with the slightest touch, comfort you like no other. These are the hands that will countless times wipe tears of joy and tears of sorrow from your eyes. And these are the hands that play with, hug and tease Dana, Evan and Alfie. The hands that will help you to hold your family as one. So Mark and Mel, we ask you now, is it your intention to be joined in marriage at this time? Thank God. Mark, do you take Mel to be your wedded wife, to share your life with her, to love, honour and care for her, in respect, tenderness and affection, as long as you both shall live? Mel, do you take Mark to be your wedded husband, to share your life with him, to love, honour and care for him, in respect, tenderness and affection, as long as you both shall live?
I do.
Thank you. Mark and Mel have both written their own vows, which they're going to read to each other now. So, how to just get them out?
I promise not to catastrophize everything and to always have your back because you always have mine after 9 a.m. It's true.
I promise not to talk before your first cup of coffee, or before I get the nod, before 9 a.m. Ansibly, sleep, quiet.
I promise to always be honest with you and to cherish who we are as a family, and although our feet may go in different directions, we know that our paths can always lead home.
So just before we exchange their wedding rings, this is where I'm going to ask you guys all to help us. So Steve, do you have the wedding ring?
The answer is yes, Steve, you do.
Yay! Please go to the back. We are now going to pass these rings between each of us. Now let me just explain a little bit about why we're doing this. We're doing this because your wedding rings are the only visible remainder after today of everything that took place today. And sometimes, I think pretty much all of us know, you can have a pretty miserable Tuesday. Looking down at your ring finger and seeing that ring and knowing that it got passed between each and every one of us will be something that really helps them know that we are their support network. So as these rings pass between you, just take a moment, no longer, to just think of a time they've made you laugh or smile, or a moment that you want them to take with you from today into the rest of their lives together. Once again, we know what the rings look like. Don't swap them, don't nick them. We're going to have some music because sometimes us British people don't like being emotional, so we can do it along with a piece of music. We have Stellify, which is important. Costa, please play Stellify.
It's just one ring, isn't it, this one?
Just out yourself. You got caught on rail.
So you guys can go sit back down again. Now one thing that you both can rely on your journey through life together is the support of absolutely every single one of us held present. So, do we, the friends and family of Mark and Mel, promise to support them not just today, but every single day of their married life?
We do!
Now just before we get to the best bit where we're going to let you guys kiss, I would like to introduce our surprise reading to you both. So, boys and Dan, would you like to come back up again? They may or may not have written this all by themselves. Okay. So we did have a poem too, but we decided that we'd write our own, didn't we? Yeah. So it's a bit more personal. Great. I can't do it! You can. Yeah. Come on. I can't even read it.
Do you want me to help?
I rely on you like a clear like my dad's stories need attention. Like the age need a pension. Like a skydive needs apprehension. I rely on you.
Heart need to be side by side. Like Alfie needs to sleep with Stanley, like Evan needs Theo to become Manly.
Like a burn therapist needs some patience, like a good song needs a cadence, like a kitchen needs a splash back, and a rainy Melbourne day needs a rain man.
Yeah.
I wish you the greatest wedding and life. Like cheese and onion flavour, you go good together. Like a football, you're connected forever. Like pancake and syrup, you're awesome together. From your greatest son, Evan.
I wish you a happy wedding day. Maybe you two would fit perfect. Mel and Mark, Mum, you are the best boner I have ever met. Mark, you are the best at making cool looking glass and artwork. Love you two so much.
Thank you guys. You can go and take a seat with them, you awesome three.
Okay, are you ready? Mel and Mark, this marriage is not only marking the progression of a new chapter in your lives, it is an acknowledgement and a celebration of a relationship that has been nurtured for many years. Today you have formally declared your love and your promises for each other here, in truth and in honesty, in front of all of those dear to you. I pronounce you what you have already pronounced yourselves to be, friends always, and partners together in everything this life has to offer you. It is with the most insane amount of pleasure that I get to pronounce you husband and wife. You can Now, before you go anywhere else, we as a collective have been practicing something for you. We're all gonna sing, so are you ready with the surprise? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, get it's easy. one more time, please. Super loud. Thank you! Woo!